Bert! Get him! Yeah! Ron Babe was right.
I'm feeling spry. Hey everybody, it is the 11th of January. I hope you got a little thaw like we did here in Michigan for a couple days, just so you know that hope springs eternal, but spring ain't here yet. Had some sad news over the last couple weeks. A couple people that I consider friends and a little too young to go, a little too young to pass, made me think of something that I had wrote for a bio one time, and I pulled it up here so I didn't screw it up. And in this bio, it says, citing one of Ron's favorite quotes, that I actually wrote this myself. I did not plagiarize it from anybody. That speaks to his love of people and dogs, and it goes like this. For me, it's always been about the friends and the dogs that we know, the ones that have passed on, and the ones that we have yet to meet. So as we're all sitting here listening to this and I'm recording this, you know, I still have friends and dogs that are around, and I have ones that I've yet to meet, both friends and dogs, and I hope to meet a bunch of them. But we've always had ones that have passed on, friends and dogs. And this is a little bit of a tribute to a couple of friends that passed on. You could say all too soon, all too early, whatever the phrase you want to use. One of his name was Larry Lawton. He was from New York. He was a NAVDA senior judge. He was a mentor of mine for a while. I judged with him 2 or 3 times, stayed at his house in New York, and he was just a fantastic human being. The minute you met Larry, you knew Larry. From his looks, to his voice, to his mannerisms, to his sense of humor, he was one of them guys, it didn't take you very long to get to know him. And the other one was Glen Blackwood, a local Michigan name. Nothing to do with the sporting dog world as far as NAVDA went, but I've known Glen for many, many years. He dedicated hundreds and hundreds, it's an understatement to say how much time he dedicated to auctions and to habitat. In the last few years of his life, he actually worked for the Rough Grouse Society, and always giving. And this man, he's been on the show a few times, and I wanted to do something that I wasn't going to try to bring on friends or colleagues or anything like that, but sometimes just getting to hear someone's voice, I think, in a sense, brings them back for a half an hour, and it reminds you of what kind of person they were. And both Larry and Glenn were those kind of people. You met them somewhere, and you felt like you knew them. You didn't have to get to know them. They didn't look the same. They weren't the same height, but they were the same. They were bird dog people. They were guys. That's just the way I'm going to put it. I'm going to miss both Larry and Glenn. And I was digging through the archives. I knew I had several episodes with Glenn. A couple times he came right to the kennel and re-recorded here. So I found one that I thought that really captured Glenn. And I also dug into my archives to see if I ever recorded anything with Larry. And as of yet, I haven't. So I'll tell you what, if Larry appeared on anybody else's podcast that I'm not aware of, I don't monitor all of them, of course, I would love to know what it is, because I'd love to hear Larry's voice again. But today we get to hear Glenn's voice again. So, like I said, it's always been about the friends and dogs that we know, the ones that have passed on, and the ones that we are yet to meet. We have yet to meet. Of course I would mess that up right at the end. Well, you know me. Anyway, here's to you, Larry. Here's to you, Glenn. It's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. I'm sitting in the kennel with Glen Blackwood. If you don't know that name, then you haven't listened to enough podcasts of mine. I formerly named him the Upland Librarian many years ago. And you've been pulled onto a few podcasts just for your librarian skills, haven't you?
Yeah, it's it's one of those things where it's fun to talk about old books and sporting literature, and able to pass on some views that I've developed over the years.
Yeah, did you have I can't remember. Did you have the book love? You had the book love. You got those books when you were a kid, right, from your mom and dad, like before you were even shotgun swinging.
Well,
right
yeah,
about the same time.
I mean, yes, I've always been a reader. And it started, just going to the library with my mother.
Those are those buildings that we had when we grew up?
Yeah, exactly.
That were near our school and in our schools? Is that what we're talking about?
And then, my parents and grandparents started buying, sporting books, fly fishing and wing shooting books for Christmases and birthdays, and that exposed me to,
You're an easy kid to buy for.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Get him another book.
Get him another book. He'll sit in the corner and shut up, and we don't have to,
We don't have to do anything.
It's before videos, It's that's kind of how that came, and it's just morphed into, I guess, having a little baseline knowledge or opinions. Probably more opinions than baseline.
So you did have the books before you had the dogs.
Oh,
before
yes.
your dogs, yeah. Well, anyway, so I should finish. Glenn is the director of regional development for the Rough Grouse Society for the Lower Peninsula, Eastern UP of Michigan and Indiana, which I guess we should maybe put a black armband on for Indiana right now. Is that
we're certainly
news for Indiana?
Doing some things down there and policy driven, trying to get that.
Would that be in the Hoosier, down in the
Yeah,
Hoosier? Yeah.
Get that moving forward. So also do some things in Illinois and the UP and around. So
you basically go around muscling people, Glenn. Let's be honest now.
Oh no, I don't muscle anybody. It's just charm.
Where's your chew? You don't have your chew in today.
No, I wanted to.
Did you quit?
No, trying to cut back.
Usually I would have to give you a spit cup when you get over
not
here.
Today.
Anyway, I just wanted to get Glenn in here. We kind of have a special thing we want to talk about, but I want to kind of get into the grouse news first. First, how was your season for Michigan? You're kind of a dyed-in-the-wool Michigan grouse guy. You don't go to Maine and
I was fortunate to. With the national hunt, we did spend some time in Grand Rapids, Minnesota.
Yeah.
And did hunt the UP as well as the northern lower this year. I started out having a pretty strong season through all in all. And then, unfortunately, I lost the third week of October. My mother passed away. Some of your readers may have heard that. Not trying to wear that on my sleeve. She died.
Things do get in the way of grouse season.
She died very peacefully with no pain. It was a blessing.
Yeah.
So I lost kind of that last week of October.
That great week. Usually the great week.
Yeah. But
in the big scheme of things.
In the big scheme of things, it really allowed me to focus on faith, family, and friendships. Those the 3 F's, if you will. But what was really kind of fun was through that time, and my boyhood best friend Chris from Connecticut came back, and he had the Bible my mother gave him when he was 9 years old in Sunday school.
Was your mom a Sunday school teacher?
Oh, my mother was, yes.
Of course. Wasn't everybody's mom thrown up to that duty one time or another?
My mother was a dichotomy of things, but she was a strong old gal in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But coming back to what we're talking about today, it was through that time, and again surrounded by family from both coasts and friends and all of that.
Yeah.
Kind of the solitary time in the morning and evening when I was with dogs, stretching dogs' legs. That and again, I grew up in Ohio, and she was buried in kind of rural agricultural part of Ohio, but I was able to let dogs romp a little bit in some grass fields that I walked
when you
as
were
a kid,
when you were a kid.
and just
That's cool
because but it was those morning romps, if you will, and evening romps that had that circle back and
I don't
provided
want to put words in your mouth,
solace.
but it's almost as good as a hunt, right? Right? I mean, it's a different
Well,
kind of hunt. It's like a hunt for memories.
Yeah. I mean, it all comes back to the dogs, and you talk about that. If you ask me about how my season was, probably the three most memorable things I have from the season is the black dog, Bosco, made and I'm bragging now. You never should brag about your dogs, made a tremendous retrieve on a grouse that my friend C.D. Clark, the sporting artist, pummeled. Thought the bird was stone dead. And anyway, we retrieved the bird a good 35, 40 yards away. That the black dog made that retrieve. So that wasn't a bird I was involved in.
Right.
It was just a really strong retrieve. And then...
which, in all honesty, grouse, there's not a lot of great retrieves in grouse. They're usually on the ground.
But, anyway, and again, we all thought this bird was
smoked.
Yes, pillowcased, if you will.
Yeah.
But, and then the little white dog, Whisk, and bragging again, had a really, really nice flush on a pair of woodcock that were 15 yards away in a classic aspen stand with a little creek boggy that goes down through the center of it. And I was so enamored with the dog work and watching the dog, because I'm trying to steady him up a little bit, that I didn't even mount my gun. I mean, the birds went up, and I looked at the dog, and the dog was kind of not completely hopped, but still standing. And he had his eyes were kind of canted towards me and watching these birds fly. So that was probably the second most, and, it was what it was all about. And then the third most memorable, I guess, looking at was, again, we hunted, it was a snowy day up towards, north of 612, Grayling, Lovell's area, back in right before deer gun season. And we had a tough day. Birds were in the pines and didn't do anything. But at the end of the day, we're walking back to the truck on this kind of 2-track, and I'm just letting the little guy stretch his legs. And
this is your young one?
Yeah, the young one.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we're 25 yards from the truck, and, I'd break the gun open and throw it over my shoulder. And sure enough, he found a grouse right on the road that gave us this good crossing look. He just pops up like, hey, Dad, that's what I'm supposed to do, isn't it? Why didn't you shoot? So, again, it's
But there's always those every season.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of grouse encounters, but there's just certain bird encounters that you don't forget.
And it comes back to, habitat. It comes back to being where birds are. It's that baseline biological understanding of, what cover you want to be in at the end of the day when it's cold, where there could be some berries or soft acorn mass, whatever. I guess I did everything but pay attention. So,
that's three good. I got 3 good memories without a bird being shot in them this year too. So if you don't know it, if you don't remember, Glenn's also addicted to Cocker Spaniels, right? Apparently.
I'm enamored by the little guys.
Okay, I'm calling it addicted. I'm not enamored yet, but I am addicted to them. And we had a little chat before before we hit the record button, and I had some similar things that happened to me in South Dakota. And for some reason, I don't know why this does this, but you get the pup. You already got a picture in your mind how it's going to be someday, right? Someday I'm going to shoot a bird, and someday it's going to. You think about all that when you have a new dog. And then when it happens, like I had 3 encounters with no gun. It was just like, I'm going to let her out and see what she does, and she did have an encounter with her first shot bird, which was picked up at miraculous warp speed and brought to my hand, and the dog does not bring a bumper back to my hand. So, I mean, there's something about them dogs that are special. But yeah, the memories don't have to involve, something in the frying pan. They really don't.
Not at all. You talk about, I said I'm enamored with the little guys, and we've got 2 of them, as I've mentioned here. But the other day, they are always kind of squabbling for lap time. Mm-hmm. And my reading chair, which is nice. It's not a recliner.
The way you read, it's got to be well worn.
It is, but it's just wide enough that one cocker can sit on one side of me. Mm-hmm. And my wife, Kathleen, and I were talking here a few weeks ago, and she said something, and I said, you know what I want for Christmas? She said, what's that? I said, I want a new chair. She says, why do you want a new chair? You like your chair? I said, I need a wider chair so I can get one cocker on the right and one cocker on the left, where my wife says, you don't need a new chair, you just need to lose weight. So, I understand. I
didn't see that line coming.
I'm dead serious.
I did not see that line coming.
She was like, nope, you don't need a new chair. You just need to lose a little pounds and a little waistline there. And then the dogs will fit.
I like it. That was good. I was trying to figure out the punchline ahead of time.
Nope, yep.
And they're like, well, I know I'm getting a new lazy boy. No. You just need to lose some weight.
I just need to lose some weight.
Plenty of room for the dogs. I love it. My little V, the one thing I will say, I was telling you before we hit record, how the personalities are different. I was silly enough to think that, like, cockers came out of a mold, and obviously, like all dogs, they have personalities. But the one thing was identical to what Taffy used to do. In South Dakota, they have a huge pit set that sits about 9 people and a big L. And both of those dogs, without ever meeting any of these people, feel that they have the right to go from one lap to the other and then do it all over again, down to the floor, up onto the end of the pit set, and everybody's holding their drinks in their hand and like, hey, Ron, call your dog. I can't. And and the other dog did the same thing. I'm like, well, that must be a cocker thing. But it's also the size dog that can get away with it, So, I know you're not the biologist for Rough Grouse Society. You are the regional development coordinator. But what do we know about RGS in Michigan and the Midwest? I know there's some good news that some active projects going on.
Across all of our regions, we have more conservation on the ground work through our conservation team, our forest conservation directors that are out there. And probably the best thing to do if you're looking for specifics in your region that where you're listening at today is go to the RGS website, roughgrousesociety.org, and look under those regions where we have updates of projects from the Northeast to the Southern Alps through the Great Lakes states. But talking Michigan-wise, 2 years ago, we received, some chapters received a Michigan Wildlife Habitat grant, and we had some projects called the Southern Woodcock Project, where we're doing habitat work for woodcock migration in southern Michigan. When you think of Michigan, and we kind of look at that maybe US 10 line that goes from Ludington across and north in the northern lower.
Cuts the mitten off about halfway. Yeah.
But because we know that woodcock migrate, and they need good habitat in both stages of their migration, north and south.
Right.
South when they're coming back for brooding, nesting purposes, and
Yeah, 'cause
south
they'll
when they're going
stop
through.
short of the snow line a lot, right?
Exactly.
They'll just kind of keep coming up to when they can get soft ground, and I did not know they were doing that.
So we finished up those projects and looking to do some more of that. In the western aspect, we have a stewardship agreement now with the Huron-Manistee National Forest. We'll be doing some cutting there.
Which historically was not we didn't have any.
We did not have those relationships
that's what I'm
with the
looking
Forest
for.
Service, not only here but in other areas. And I think our Forest Conservation Directors, John Staggerwald up here, Nick B. Miller, and go through the list, Todd Waldron. Everyone's doing a great job in getting that and working in those spaces for us, as well as state and other landowners across the United States. So that's been real positive. The Zone Aspen project is going on, again in the Huron-Manistee here. We're really, our grassroots efforts, our capacity has increased, and those deliverables are out there for all of us to see.
Yeah.
When you look back at it, for a long time we only had one staff person in the state. Michigan, now we have 4. We're growing capacity in other regions, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Northeast. With that, we're giving back in demonstrating what we can do with the investments that our donors or patrons give us, especially this time of the year as we come into just past Giving Tuesday, but coming in towards a very philanthropic time in the end of the year.
This is something, and I say this probably 2 or 3 times a year, and I'll point something out to you on the label of my latest Covers magazine. Do you see the name that's on that to the person that was mailed to?
Now I got to lift my glasses here. To Susan.
Right. So last year, and I encourage people to do this with whatever I do it with 3 of my favorite organizations. At my age, what are my kids going to get me, right? I've got gun cases, I've got socks, I've got underwear. And it's always like, what can we get you? So a year ago, I said, get yourself a subscription to RGS Magazine. So on my birthday, I got the proof of my 3 daughters joining RGS to get the magazine. And is it going to put them in the field? No. But I'm like, why not? Now when I go to their house, I got something to read. Okay? And now 2 of them do a little bit of hunting, but I wouldn't call any of them a grouse hunter. And that's what I've told people last year. That's another way of giving, right? I mean,
it certainly is.
It's the baseline. We need the members. They need the money. And I just feel it's like that, at least I know they're going to read a little bit, or 2 of their husbands will hunt a little bit. And the articles are good. The information's good. And I don't know, I thought it was a better way than getting a pair of socks. So now every year they have to show me that they
subscribed or became a.
I didn't want it my name. I don't need 4 coming here with my name.
No.
I need it in their houses when I go visit and babysit. So I encourage everybody, like if you don't know what you want for Christmas and you've got kids that are old enough to, I know if it's 9 years old, it's a faux. But when you got that child that's old enough and working and says, what do you want for Christmas, Mom or Dad? I want you to buy yourself a subscription to RGS Covers. So there's my spiel.
Well, it's a great way to look at it. Thank you.
Yeah. And I got a few people that wrote me and said they did the same thing. So can't be a bad thing.
And Brittany Booth, our editor, I think is doing a wonderful job with the magazine. Not just because they let me scribe some articles in there, but I think, it's really tells our story. And, it's got biological information in there, know your plants and that, as well as highlighting some of our impactful habitat work that we're doing across the U.S.
It's really come around in a couple of years. The Covers it's really changed. And I find it's one of the magazines I look forward to really reading cover to cover because it's like it says not just another hunting story. We all have hunting stories. That's what we're talking about earlier. Is hunting stories.
Yeah, exactly.
So sounds like everything's kind of foot to the floor, foot on the gas pedal, right?
Yeah, moving ahead, looking at projects for 2023 and beyond. Trying to leverage dollars as match to grants for larger, more impactful projects for young forest management and diverse forest management. Understanding that it's not always just, one-dimensional aspects that we want, because both grouse and woodcock need a broad variety of habitat throughout the year, whether it's nesting cover or raising their broods. So, really looking for that on a large impact scale with young forest diversity. And really, we're the ones out there who are touting that, we're taking a commodity product and turning it into dollars, helping rural economies, helping put habitat back in the ground, and we need support. So,
that's
moving forward.
That's why we're here. We're going to be begging for a little bit more stuff here. So I will tell you, my grouse season was pretty much condensed to a trip up to the UP and a couple hunts. I'm so terrible at I always got this wanderlust. So come April, May, and people start inviting me places. Yep, I'll go. Yep, I'll go. And I literally don't put a dent in the grouse and woodcock population in Michigan. I take, as Ben Williams said, for the occasional edification of the dog and the table. That's about all. It's about all I take. But it's a bird that when you hunt, there's nothing comparable to it. Like you could go out to the Dakotas and hunt 4 different species of birds out, and you could in some spots find them on these big open walks with all the view in the world. And what I would say is, if they're pointed, layup shots, right? And we choose to shoot at a bird inside of a stem density of about 400 trees per 200 feet or something. And so I got to tell this story, and I'll tell a truncated version. We had a giveaway through Pike Gear, who's a big RGS donor, and
just became a corporate sponsor. Thanks for Brent for that, and you're going to be seeing some really unique things with not only Pike, but all of our corporate sponsors, Purina, Benelli, Sport Dog, and the list moving forward. So want to shout out, thank you to all of those people who help us, and ask our listeners or your listeners to support those people too.
Yeah,
Brett's got a great product,
right?
And it's American made.
Yeah, that's right. It's put together here. It's here. Yeah. So he put together a grouse hunt where I would do a hunt with a couple of participants, and there was like 1,100 people that got it. And this young fella and his girlfriend came. It was going to be him and his mom, and his girlfriend took the place of his mom. And we told the guy, and I'll bet I'm going to say that you haven't heard this story. A couple of my listeners have from 2 months ago. But this young man had never shot a feathered creature in its life. Now, he's sporting Clay's nut. He's only 21 years old, 22 years old. And we literally told him what he needed to do. Like, he needs to have his hand on the forearm and the grip. You got to be ready. This is not call and pull. He got 2 grouse and 3 woodcock on his first day. Now, I don't know anybody who never shot a bird in their life that did that with rough. And I'm not talking about any layup shots. He took pokes when they flew. I told him, I said, do not look at the trees. So it was almost easier to teach somebody instead of just taking somebody out hunting and they're like, Jesus, this is hard to do. We told him how hard it was going to be, and he literally listened to us, and he was shooting through 100 trees and there'd be a dead bird. We were shocked. Woodcock are one thing, but knocking some grouse down without any experience, and he ended up, I think he followed up with 2 the next day. Unbelievable. I told him, I said, you're done. You hit your pinnacle. You might as well go back to Florida and chase quail because you will never do this good again in the grouse woods. But, no, and I wanted to ask you something, too, about, and I should know this, but I don't, the gems that we have, the gem properties in Michigan. Was RGS integral to that when they were formed?
Well, the GEMS properties we have supported through some projects and grant work over, but that was really the state concept of taking those lands and managing them as grouse enhanced management areas called GEMS. I think it's been a good program.
Yeah.
It's like anything else. I think people may not like the broadcasting of those public areas, but it does. I think where it really fits into, it's with older hunters.
And I would say newer too. So
and
they
newer
learn,
hunters.
So I've steered them toward gems, so they know what it should look like.
Exactly. From that, with the trail systems and that, we're all getting older and walking through, like you said, thick stem density aspen. Certainly is more challenging for me today because, my wife told me I needed to lose weight, but than it was 20 years ago. But you find that, gentlemen or ladies, elderly hunters that want to
take the walk.
Mm-hmm. And even if it's only for an hour and a half, they're able to utilize those. Yeah. And then from a educational standpoint, like you mentioned, more novice hunters or someone who, like you said, the gentleman from Florida, who's never experienced what is good woodcock cover or good grouse cover or this versus this. It gives them an opportunity to see firsthand where they should be spending their time.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you just told them to go in the woods, it's a little vague.
Yes.
But that's what every grouse hunter says. Where'd you get your birds? In the woods. In the woods. So this is just a sideline story. There's a big gem, and I don't remember the name of it. It's up in Gwynn, or south. I think it's south and a little east of Gwynn. So this isn't hotspot because all the gems are clearly marked on mapping systems. And we had taken this 2-track out on some state land and purposely stayed away from the gems because, the guide we were with, he didn't want us to have to run into other hunters. He wanted to show these people and they showed me a tough hunt. I mean, we had a couple walks where it was literally not fun, where a mile walk in over dead blows to get to where the birds were. But guess what? The birds were there. But anyway, we had taken this god-awful 2-track that his truck went down with no problem, but my full-size Dodge we pulled the mirrors in and we're scratching it up, and we finally get out to this bigger, nice grassy road. I'm like, as soon as we get there, I said, wait, wasn't there a better way to come in here? He goes, no, this is the only way in. It's private on both sides. I'm like, I got to go back out that road again. Well, anyway, as we wrapped up this hunt, which was a very nice hunt, a long, long walk in, on our way back out, a truck had come out from one of the private sides, just say from the east, and stopped like all grouse hunters like to talk to other grouse hunters. And, of course, he was a what we'd call a UP grouse hunter. He was just going to take a little road hunt. Right? He was just going to drive down the road and look for a few birds. He'd let his dog out if he saw one. But anyway, he said he'd be nice enough he had the key to the neighbor's gate so we could drive out on the good track. And before we left, I don't think he knew that we were with a guide. He just knew there was 2 trucks and 4 people. And he says, you guys ought to check out that gems. He said, it's full of birds. And, of course, the guide says, he goes, wait. I go there in the springtime to run my dogs and do a little, preseason training, no gun. He says, and he looks at his wife, he goes, I don't know, we get like 3 or 4 a day every time we go there. We go there midweek. Nobody's hunting it. So I'm thinking maybe down in the lower peninsula it might be a thing where it is kind of crowded, and I don't want to hotspot it, but this guy, he says, I think you're nuts not to be hunting the gems. So, and it could be that thing like if I told you to go up there, you probably weren't going to go to the gems, right? Because you'd think there probably would be, the birds would have been rousted up more. Or would you seek them out?
I've certainly hunted some gems in the UP, as in the northern lower.
Yeah.
Again, it comes back to habitat and where you're going.
Right.
And, are you on your way to another area, or are you just deadheading one spot?
Right.
But certainly, again, in my estimation or views,
it's about as good as the habitat can be, right?
Good plans. They have that diverse young forest that the birds excel in, and you have some, and most of them are large. So, yeah,
Plenty of room.
if you're only hunting the first quarter mile from a parking area, it's like fishing a trout stream.
Right. You might have to go a little further.
Might have to go a little further.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. No, I kind of took that away, and I got another spot I'm going to go to next year. I'm like, you know what? That's going to be my target, because I got this feeling that a lot of people who are, let's say, dyed-in-the-wool grouse hunters, they have their covers that they know they like, and I think they're staying away from them because they think John and Joe Amateur are going to be there, and I'm thinking I'm just going to find a deep section of those, because you're going to find great habitat in a lot of spots in the UP. But it's not going to be better than a gems. I mean, gems has everything, right? It is technically made for what it's called.
That is true.
It's enhanced, and it's enhanced. And so, as I observed the next day and a half, every time we went by this gems, the 4 spots I saw you could have pulled in, I never saw a truck there either. So, and this local couple goes, yeah, we go there every day. We get 3 or 4 birds. Well, they're getting all the low-hanging fruit.
That's right.
That's all they're getting. So let's chat a little bit about what are we going to call this? The whiskey. We need to give it another name. What are we calling it? The whistle pig. What are we going to call this?
Well, I think it's the small batch run of whistle pig rye for RGS and AWS patrons and patrons of yours. It's a wonderful project that you brought to us, and I'll let you talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so I got contacted by a listener of my podcast who has a show called Weekly Whiskey, or I always screw it up, Whiskey Weekly, or Weekly Whiskey, but apparently if you like whiskey, it doesn't matter, it's Weekly Whiskey. And he came on knowing I'm a beer drinker, and he wanted me to come on his weekly show. He sent me some samples of some bourbon, and of course they were looking for the comedic relief of me making faces going like, whoa. And then I'm washing it down with a Miller Lite, and his viewers had so much fun. He says, Ron, you got to come on again. And that second time I brought on my son-in-law, who has a palate for brown water, and then that turned into John reaching out to you and RGS and myself to do yet another sampling of single batch. What is it? Single barrel?
Single barrel.
Single barrel.
Small batch, single barrel.
Single barrel. And then we had a Zoom room, so to speak, where you and I and who else? Tripway and John Henderson hosted it, and we all had our little samples. And the idea was that they would make a single batch, basically whiskey of our choice, whatever we felt was the most palatable, which we took yours and Tripp's advice, because no one's going to, I think it all tastes like lighter fluid, but, unless I've had about a dozen beers and then it somehow tastes better. But anyway, so we had this together. The barrel is done. I believe it's bottled right now, isn't it?
I believe it's bottled.
May not be labeled yet. Maybe not labeled yet.
But moving forward with that.
Yeah.
And it will be available through a website link and shipped from a retailer.
Yep.
That is legal to ship across the country. So there's no liability for that aspect.
Right.
And a portion of it will be donated back to RGS and AWS.
And apparently there's a lot of bourbon and whiskey drinkers in the Rough Grouse Society. That's
Well,
what
we
every time I hunt with you guys are always sipping brown water at the end of the day, and I'm sipping beer. So I don't know what it is about grouse, fly fishing, and bourbon and whiskey. I don't know what it is, but it's a thing. So we don't have a link yet, but you'll probably hear it at the end of this or in my intro. We didn't jump the gun, but I wanted to get Glenn in here and talk about it. And so Whistle Pig, now I don't want to say you're an aficionado.
I'm not an aficionado
You're the
at all.
upland librarian, but you're not the not the whiskey librarian.
No, I am not.
But you like.
I enjoy. I certainly do.
I saw you smiling while you were drinking it on the.
Well,
you
it
enjoyed
was,
it. Maybe it was because it was free. I don't know.
Nah, it's like anything else. It was an experience.
Yeah.
And I think when you look back at all of these things. Now I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm a storyteller and do these things.
That's what we do. That's why I had you come over.
It's kind of, I'd never experienced anything like that before. To have, 4 different batches there, and be a part of that. So it was interesting.
Yeah.
And in trying to have the distinct. And there certainly were some distinct flavors going across the board.
Yeah, oh yeah. As much as I'm not a brown water drinker, I was listening to you guys describe what you're drinking, and all I tasted was like, I don't know what they're talking about, but that's different than that one, and that's different than that one, and
so
turns out the one that I could get down past my tongue was the one we did not choose. Probably it was probably from the bottom of the barrel, but
no, it was a unique thing, and it's a unique way to explore some different options and understand, bringing it back full circle to habitat.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing it back full circle to habitat. In forestry, in diverse forest management, and the importance of this not only for wildlife, but for rural economies and for everything. What do we age whiskey in? Oak barrels.
Oak barrels.
So in order for anybody to do this, we have to have viable forestry management programs.
Right.
And we have to be able to harvest sustainably oak to turn that into a cask that, whether it's bourbon or rye or sherry or port or wine, strong Cabernet
it's
with
truly
legs.
tied more into conservation than it is being a beer drinker.
So, well,
I mean, we just cut down hops.
But again, not going off on all this. What does beer need? Good, clean water.
Sure.
Again, where does good, clean water come from? Understanding the aquifer system and understanding our environments and our habitat and those sorts of things. All of these things are intertwined in some fashion, and I'm just fortunate to be able to talk to people in this kind of my second career about the importance of conservation, their legacy to diverse forest management, if you're a grouse and woodcock hunter, and all the other neotropical songbirds that come with it, white-tailed deer, turkeys. It's all entwined. And hopefully when this link gets out, some of our patrons that will be interested and not think that our taste buds were
I'm going to blame
out of line.
If somebody doesn't like it, they cannot blame me. They cannot blame me. But I don't think with Whistle Pig being a very well-established distillery that anybody's going to mind having a bottle of this, and it'll have an RGS label on it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's worthy of the shelf on your back bar in your basement or your garage, wherever you keep it. I wouldn't put it under the sink because that's not showing it proudly. These bottles should be on display. But people will know that when they buy that, whether it's a gift for somebody they know that likes whiskey, or if it's a gift for themselves, which, believe me, if I was a whiskey drinker, I'd be, they'd have to lay off third shift if I quit, So it'll be available to listeners of the show and RGS patrons. I'm sure RGS will do an email out to their membership to where there's another way of supporting conservation, because a good portion of the proceeds of this single barrel I don't know, like I said, we have a name for it, but it's not the name on there. I mean, like I think of like Wild Turkey, Old Crow. It needs a name, but I don't know what the name's going to be. But it's going to be, this is a one-off. And for people who get that, it's like people with coffee that like different coffees, right? And then there's people that just drink coffee from the gas station. For people who really like bourbons and whiskeys, when you say single batch, small batch, single barrel, there's not another one like that.
No. It'll be a one-of-a-kind.
It'll be a one-of-a-kind taste, one-of-a-kind flavor. And for those who have the palate for it, they will know that. So I wish I could learn to, enjoy it. But, maybe that's not a good thing. I have a problem with addictions as it is, so I don't need another one. But I'm excited, and I think hopefully we're going to have that out here in the next week or so. Put it this way. You're going to be listening to this because we already have the links to it. So I forgot. We're pre-recording this. But I wanted to get it done so when this thing's ready to sell, we can get some out there before Christmas and certainly before New Year's.
Exactly.
Who took care of the artwork for that?
Ashley Peters, our director of communications, was involved with that. So
I can't wait to see it. I haven't even seen a picture of it. Have you seen a picture
of it? I have
not.
Damn.
Now we just got to go back and talk about dogs again.
Well,
could be worse things to do.
I was going to say.
Worse things to do on a Wednesday. Did you do any traveling besides with RGS? Did you get any hunting trips in?
No, I really didn't. I take it back. I say I really
Well, you went
didn't.
to the national hunt.
Yeah, I was just in Missouri for a couple days with talking to a donor down there, and did a little walking and quail hunting.
Did you see a few?
Yeah, we saw a few.
Nice.
It was kind of fun.
I mean, they're fighting the same thing everybody's fighting, right?
Yeah,
Habitat.
It's it all comes back to that mix.
Yeah.
So I did do that, and thinking about going to a dog training seminar in Georgia coming up after the first of the year. So, I got a little traveling in, but again, going back with my mother's situation, I was kind of reticent to travel to really plan a bunch of things.
Yeah, well,
and then,
those things happen.
So onward to upward for next year.
Right.
So.
The next year can always be better.
Exactly.
This year I had last year, I should go back, for 2021 season, a friend of mine said, with your judging assignments and your trips you got coming, why don't you put it on a Word doc and give it to your wife? And it worked out really good because I gave it to her in July, right? In June and July. And I updated it, and she's like, okay, you're going here, you're going to be going there, you're going to be going. I did the same thing this year, except I just stretched out the hunts. And she didn't really read it. She just says, oh, okay, you're going to be gone here. And before I left on my first trip, she goes, why are you going to be gone 2 weeks? I said, well, I gave you the heads up. She goes, you don't normally get. I said, well, I was never retired before. So I've had a couple of, and this has not happened to me in all my hunting years. I've had a couple of 2-week trips, being gone for 2 weeks, playing with the dogs, swinging on some birds, seeing friends, hunting with friends I made just through the podcast that say, hey, if you're ever coming through, we don't have a lot of birds here, but I'd love to meet you. And it was just probably my best hunting year. Not grouse and woodcock, but just for me traveling, the highlight for me was North Dakota. I was going to go on to Wyoming, and I had a young dog, which is Tagus, my wire-haired Vizsla, and the prairie birds and the Huns were in good numbers this year. And we literally were living in a house that was dead set in the middle of great territory. And I couldn't bring myself to drive another day to Wyoming, losing another day to come back, when I could get my dog into birds every day at my leisure. So my friends all left kind of on schedule, and I had 5 days to myself. 5 days. I've never had that in my life. Like, get up in the morning, go, bacon, sausage, egg. You know what? I'll take the dog out real quick. Then I'll come back and make breakfast. And then I'll take a little nap. And then I go back out again in the afternoon. Or then I drive around Scout. I'm telling you, I was spoiled this year. The opposite. So I don't know. You never know what the next year's going to bring. But if you don't dream big, as Roof says, you'll have nightmares. So dream big.
Trips like that are special.
Yeah.
Trips like that are very, very special. And certainly this year wasn't. But I've had a couple of those single solitary time frames, both with dogs and with angling. And, they're really, really nice.
Right.
They're refreshing.
There's something about being by yourself and making all your own decisions. Because I'm sure you've hunted with a lot of, I would venture to say you hunt with people more often than you hunt by yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
most people do.
Most people
Even if
do.
it's
I mean,
a regular
and we
hunting
have, I have some good friends that we share time together.
Mm-hmm.
So we carve out 3-4 days there, or 2 or 3 days here, or whatever. But it's nice to be able just to sometimes take a stroll just with you and your hound.
Yep, and just decide, because I don't care how. And I hunt with one of my friends. I've known him since I was 5. We've hunted together since we were in high school. And him and I, after 5 days, could drive each other crazy because we're that good at arguing with each other. Luckily, he's not a dog guy per se, so he doesn't try to oversteer me. But even though I've hunted with some other friends that we see each other every year, and inevitably, it may be where we're going to eat dinner or where we're going to hunt first. But there's always like some extra, not drama, but there's just some planning involved, right? And I've had a couple where somebody brought somebody with on a hunt, and like one trip to South Dakota, a friend brought a friend from Ohio. Super nice guy. Didn't know anything about pheasant hunting. He's from Ohio, and this is 10, 15 years ago. I don't think there's a wild pheasant in Ohio, is there? I doubt
Probably
it.
not too many.
And within a day, he was a pheasant expert. Now, I could have used that 5-day just to calm down after spending 3 days with him professing to know everything there was about pheasants based on his first encounter with a pheasant. So, yeah, those times you get to be by yourself and make your own decisions, I tell you that. I may not get that again rest of my life. Who knows? But I'll tell you what, this year was twice, and it was just blissful. Just blissful. Oh.
The one thing I will say about that, in spending time, I'm a big proponent of trying to spend time by yourself. I guess I'm kind of a solitary, quiet person, though most people would say that's not true.
Well, because they meet you in a different
light.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do that, have your wits about you, because stupid, bad things happen in the outdoors. Mm-hmm. And as you're sitting here talking about this, this is a really stupid story myself. My family's originally my grandparents were originally from central Pennsylvania, Center County, outside of State College. And we had a home there for many years. And my great-grandfather was in the timber business out there. And we fished all these little small backcountry runs. And I knew them well. Mm-hmm. And anyway, one of these trips I was telling you about, I was out there all by myself, and this is back before cell phones, and our place didn't have a phone, no communication. It was just a glorious time. I'm talking to this old timer, this guy who's like a little older than my grandfather. My grandfather had passed away, and talking about fishing this little wild trout stream, this run. And he said, well, you know how to get into the upper reaches of this run. I'm gonna remain nameless.
Vague about it, but that's
vague
fine.
about it. And I said, well, yeah, I've always heard there's a way to get in. He goes, oh, it's really easy. You know, you just go up X2 track till you come to the culvert that's going underneath the road. And you walk down that culvert till you get to the top of the ridge. And when you get to the top of the ridge, you're going to turn left, and you go down that ridge, I don't know, a couple hundred yards, and you're going to see a big pile of rocks. And when you get to that big pile of rocks, you drop down over the ridge, and you're going to come to like this big 3 oak trees growing out of one stump. And when you get to the 3 oak trees, you go a little bit to your left, and you'll come to the creek. I go, this is great. So I get up the next morning.
Sounds like a shortcut.
Yeah. And I get up the next morning and grab a couple beers that I'm going to stash in the creek for the end of the day, and take a little tin of oysters and sardines and
favorite snacks.
Yeah. Fortunately, I had my compass. And I'm in a pair of like hip boots, and anyway, it doesn't matter. And that's what I do. Park at the culvert, walk down the culvert, get to the ridgeline, go find the stones, drop down, find the tree, kick to the creek, and I have a pretty good day fishing. And it's like, I don't know if anybody had been in there fishing ants or beetles. It was in the summertime. And it's all wild brook trout in there. Nothing huge. One fish, I don't know, might have went 9-10 inches, but just
it's what you fish
gorgeous
and love.
Day.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm walking back up, get to where I'm going to get out, have a beer, walking up the thing, and I step in a ground hornet's nest. And I got ground hornets going down my hip boots, up my shorts, in me, and I'm running blindly through the woods. Okay? I run blindly through the woods and then break out and this is back when I was young. I mean, anyway, I know people now thinking me running blindly through the woods have a irresistibly laughing going on, like there's no way. But anyway,
you made some distance between the original encounter.
And now I'm hot and sweaty and nauseous and stung multiple times and all that stuff going through. So I sit down and actually kind of doze out. And then kind of come to 15, 20 minutes later and realize that nobody has any clue where I am, nor do I have a clue where I am, because I had this wonderful path. You know, you start at the culvert, and I was just going to and I can't tell you if I ran north, south, east, or west. I just ran. So, you know, you pull out your compass and you start, and you're going, you know, and it's always
that way.
It's always good to have an out. And in this case, I had an out to the east, a hard pack road to the east, and I had this 2-track to the south. So I knew if I kind of go southeast, I'm eventually going to come something. But, you know, you're always judging.
Second guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, I made it back to the 2-track. And I looked to my right and couldn't see my truck. And I looked to my left, and I came out probably 300 yards away from it.
Oh.
Which, you know. So if you're going to enjoy some of those personal times, just let somebody know where you are, because I
made a point of not telling my wife I was hunting by myself for those 5 days. Because that's exactly what she would have thought. She said, what are you going to do when you fall in a badger hole?
So,
I don't know what I'm going to do when I fall in a badger. It's like I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
Stupid things happen.
It is.
Or silly things happen, I should say. So
but
be careful out there.
Now at least you can have the SOS, you know,
yeah.
on a Garmin. That's. I told my wife I got the little mini InReach, and it's in my backpack. I don't even know if I charged it last time, but it'll hold a charge if it's not on. I wouldn't want to have to use the SOS button, but back when you did that, there was no SOS.
There was no.
And for all you know, you could have had a bad allergic reaction to that.
Oh.
You could have been there. You could have died. I mean, seriously, could have died.
So
Yeah. So lesson to be learned. Enjoy the solitude. Pay attention.
be careful.
Watch where you're walking. All right. Anything else we got to cover?
No, I just want to thank you and all your listeners for their continued support of the Rough Grouse and American Woodcock Societies. If you go to our website, roughgrousesociety.org, to see projects that are going on in your region or upcoming events. We're planning a strong event season for 2023.
That's nice.
That's going forward. We have events in all regions, and we're in the planning process for that. So, habitat days, hunts, banquets, target shoots. We've got the New York City banquet coming up if anybody's in the city.
I have to say it like a commercial. New York City.
New York City.
Rough Grouse Society
We're having
chapter.
an event there. Some really good events all across the region coming up. Our engagement coordinators are really doing a great job. Our chapters, our volunteerism is the core to all of this. Without those strong support on that grassroots level,
we wouldn't be talking
we
today.
wouldn't be talking. So thanks to all. Thank you for listening. And Ron, on behalf of RGS and AWS, thanks for having me.
Well, that's my pleasure. So, and a single reminder, you'll be getting you will have gotten. Is that boy? I not only do not read a lot, I'm not good at speaking like that. You will have received by the time you listen
That's
to this.
always the thing to do. If you're not sure, change the word.
Change the word. Don't try to make that word work into a sentence. You should have received, in coordination with the release of this podcast, a link through my website, through RGS's website, through several other venues, the ability to help out with conservation and get yourself the gift of some whistle pigs, single barrel.
Or a membership to RGS AWS.
Yeah, and that's what I told you in the beginning. If you don't know what you want for Christmas, have somebody buy it for you. Doesn't even matter if they're a grouse hunter. We need members.
We need members.
Yeah, with every membership drive, you might get one or two more that are going to be taking your job someday, and we need that. We're going to need somebody to, we got to have somebody pulling up behind to the rear, right?
Certainly.
And that's where they come from. They don't get in your position the first year they grouse hunt.
Well, and I think understanding that conservation, and I know you're trying to end this up, but conservation is such a mentored trait, or, there's a lot of clay targets shooters out there, but they may not necessarily transfer into the woods.
Right.
And as we go forward and looking towards conservation in this country, we really need to have an upswell of membership and mentors, so people understand it at a youthful, younger age, not when they're old, fat, and white-haired like me. Where did I learn about it? Where did I get impassioned in this?
Right.
It's through my father and grandfather, when I was a lad. And to go through there. So that mentorship process, that member process is so, so important.
And that's where coming up with a pint night or a banquet, that could be your conduit into it.
Exactly.
Doesn't have to be from your grandpa, your uncle, your dad, or your mom. Nope. It could come from just some goofy guy on a microphone with another goofy guy on the other side of the table. All right, Glenn, I appreciate it. I'll tell you a few more stories when we leave, and that's it. Let's wrap it up.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a good day.
I love you guys. I love you girls, and I love you RGS members more.